I want to preface this right now. I am not a doomsdayer, so please don't take it that way as I go through these slides. I am a very optimistic person. I look for good news all the time, and I believe there is some good news to be had, but there's also some very real things going on right now. And as we all know, life can be a very interesting ride. One minute things are great, the next you're upside down. We live in a world of economic and financial uncertainty. The purpose of this next section is for us to spend a little bit of time to wake up to the reality of what is going on. Those who are prepared do not need to fear. They can adjust, they can be prepared, and they can embrace the changes that will be coming forward. Those who are not prepared, and I believe in the circumstances we're facing economically right now, those who are not prepared are going to pay a terrible price. And we will run through that very quickly here. Knowledge and awareness of reality, the facts. And these are excerpts from the crash course, chrismartinson.com. If you want to do your own research on this, I would love it if you would. But from the time the Pilgrims came to America to 1973, there was $1 trillion total dollars in the U.S. money supply. That means we built the infrastructure of this great nation on $1 trillion total in those first 300 years. In 1972, 1973, we were operating on what we call the gold standard. That means that all the U.S. dollars had to be backed by gold, and we convinced the rest of the world that the U.S. dollar ought to be the world currency because it's backed by gold, and everyone pretty well adopted that. And so most of the world economy is based around the U.S. dollar. In about 1973, we made a decision as America that, hey, you know what? We've got such a great economy. The whole world loves us. We really don't need to have our money backed by gold anymore. We can print it whenever we choose. And essentially, over the next 26 years, we printed $1 trillion a year on average. $26 trillion went into circulation in the next 26 years. 2000, 2008, 8 more years, another $25 trillion. And just to put that in perspective, what is $1 trillion? If you have a stack of $100 bills, 40 inches tall, nice crisp $100 bills, you've got 40 inches is $1 million. $1 billion would be 3,580 feet tall, and 1 trillion is 680 miles stacked of neat $100 bills. That kind of puts it in perspective a little bit. Next time we hear our politicians talking about $1 trillion like it's not really that big of a deal, I hope it gives you a little bit of perspective of what we're looking at. I think I saw the devastation in Japan with the tsunami. They're expecting it's going to cost somewhere around $25 billion to rebuild. And they're talking that that's a huge amount of money. And here we are in the U.S. talking about trillions, almost like that's a normal thing to talk about. But right now it's escalating at a record-breaking pace. The last $1 trillion put into circulation only took 4 months. And so that's just some of the reality we're dealing with. If you look at the history of money and the U.S. price levels from 1665 to 2008, things pretty well stayed very similar to the years before. If you see these bumps on the scale here, each time we've had a war, we'll experience some inflationary pressures. And typically, within 10 years, it kind of drops right back down to where it was, and it'll bump along there. You see the War of 1812, Civil War, and each time you see these spikes pop up. But something interesting happened after World War II and the Vietnam War. If you see there on the chart, it never really came back down. It just kind of started this steady upward motion. And from 1970 till now, I want you to take a look at the curve that we are currently on in the United States. That's a pretty alarming graph. So anyone who right now is looking at the economy and wanting to talk about real estate cycles and the economic cycles and the fact that, hey, you know, everything cycles in 7 to 10 year period of time, just be patient. It's going to come back just like it was. Again, I'm not a doomsdayer, but when you look at the facts of what is happening in America, I don't believe the next 10 years are going to be anything like the last 10. we have got way too many things happening in our economy. Unemployment rate is off the charts right now. We're running historically unprecedented levels of debt. Right now, the U.S. government is borrowing $3 billion every day, each and every day, to operate our country. That's $10 per every man, woman, and child in this country that we're borrowing every day. And I just saw a report today, actually, that the U.S. recorded the record budget in February. So we had 28 days in February, and we ran a $222 billion deficit in the month of February. That is bigger than the deficit for the entire year of 2007. That's just 4 years ago, guys. And we just eclipsed that in 1 month. That is not a good pace. That is not something that we can continue to do in America and think that nothing is going to fall. We are seeing the Chinese having to buy up billions of US dollars, $190 billion in the last quarter of last year, in order to, because their money is backed by the U.S. currency and they have to keep it balanced with their yuan. China just announced that they have now started trading. They've always had to trade with their international partners. Everything has always been backed with U.S. money. They just recently, in the last couple of weeks, have started trading with their foreign partners with no U.S. backing, no U.S. dollar backing. That is not a good sign for the U.S. dollar. Eventually, we will have to pay the price for all these years of fiscal irresponsibility. And I say this because it's time to get prepared. Again, if we're prepared, we can make the transitions into whatever the economy does to us, but we have to take the time to get prepared. We're also faced with natural disasters. Again, we're talking why food reserves. Guys, I hope the U.S. economy, I hope somehow we come out of this. I actually saw a report today that a majority of U.S. economists agree that the U.S. economy is going to see positive growth in the year 2011. That's really good news when you're facing all the crap we're facing. However, the economy, there will be a day that we have to deal with that. Hopefully it's not right away, so it gives us more time to prepare. But the other reason we have to be prepared is for natural disasters. We all know Hurricane Katrina, the devastation, the riots, the things that happened over food. Bolivia, we've got flooding and landslides last week that are wiping out parts of that country. We know the Japanese tsunami. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, guys. You're all aware of what the negative news is. We hear it every day. It drills us all the time. I want to talk about the positive. How do we get out of this? And the wisdom of food reserves. Food is our greatest dependency. I don't care how many stocks you have, how great your portfolio is. I don't care how much gold or silver you buy. I don't care how much cash you have in the bank, how wonderful your business is. If we don't have food, none of that matters. People who don't have a supply of food can be controlled very easily. And we look back on the farm, life on the farm. I think most of us on this call can probably go back just a couple of generations to someone in our family who was a farmer. And if you remember, those farmers were always prepared. They were self-reliant. I know I was raised with food storage in the basement. All of the farmers that I knew around us always had food storage. And there's a reason behind that. They knew their crops may fail one year. They may have a rough time in harvest, too much rain, not enough rain, all the things that happen to farmers, and they were smart enough to stay prepared. We live in a country right now that is not self-reliant, and we need to get back to those core basics of being self-reliant. If you look at what's going on with grocery prices, with gas prices, commodity prices, October 2010, corn was up 29%, wheat 36%, sugar 51%, orange juice 17%. Fox News reported, and we haven't seen that in the grocery stores yet, but we will. Fox News reported the National Inflation Association, which is a group that researches hyperinflationary trends. Now, hyperinflation is not just inflation on steroids. Inflation happens in a good, healthy economy when goods and services are in high demand, people are making good money, and just over the course of that supply and demand, you have this inflationary pressures in the market. Hyperinflation is actually just the opposite of that. And that's what the NIA sees happening in America. It's happened in several other countries, Germany, and several other countries that they have studied. And what they're seeing right now is they believe that we are in a trend where the world is losing their belief in the U.S. dollar. And as a result, they are starting to dump a lot of U.S. dollars into the market. That is going to continue to happen. And right now, according to the NIA, and you can go on to Fox News, I just did it today, and look up this report, and it talks about a two-quart thing of orange juice that currently is $2.99. They expect that by 2020 that will be $45.71. An ear of corn, currently $1.25, will be $11.43. A loaf of wheat bread will be $23. Sugar, for a 3-pound thing of sugar, will be $58. A small thing of coffee will go from $3 to $53. You can, again, go on and do your own research. They are predicting, and there are many, many economists, this isn't just the NIA, who are predicting that the U.S.'s next big emergency will be a food crisis, similar to what we've seen in Egypt and some of these other countries that we're seeing right now. In the last 6 months, I just printed this report. I've got it sitting on my desk. In the last 6-month period, from mid-2010 to early 2011, global corn futures prices rose from $3.50 a bushel to over $7 a bushel. That's double. So when you look at these trends and what's really happening, you know, we've got these people out there predicting this, but when you look at what's really happening, it starts to let you know that these things are really coming down the line. In any natural disaster, you're 3 days away from empty shelves in your warehouses and in your grocery stores. The question is your family prepared? Can you bridge the gap? And we're going to talk about you personally right now. Because if this doesn't make sense to you personally, if you don't feel that you need what we're offering, there's really no sense of you to try to build a business and talk other people into it. In my opinion, that's how multi-level or network marketing companies get a bad name. If the only reason you're interested in getting into this is to make lots of money, and you really don't care about the product or service, that's not the way I do business. I truly believe that each one of us are susceptible to erratic weather, natural disasters, shipping strikes, employment setbacks, the economic downturns with the U.S. Currency. We each need to have our reserves so that we can take care of our family first. Then we need to start sharing it with others and helping others prepare. And guys, that's why I got involved with this. When I started looking at businesses and what I wanted to get involved with, I had 7 things written down on a list of what I wanted to get involved with. The first thing on that list is I wanted to get involved in a cause that was something that really helped other people. A cause I believed in, that I could spend my life helping others. I've been involved in businesses where it was all about money. A product or service, a new gadget that we could market, we knew how to market it, and we knew we could blow the doors off of it and make a lot of money. I didn't really care about the product or service. It was just I knew how to make money marketing that. I didn't want that to be the case with the business that I got involved with now. I wanted my kids to see us building something and a cause behind that. So the question I have on the bottom of the screen right now, is it wise to be totally dependent on others for your greatest dependency in life?